Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about the relationship between consciousness and existence. This is a really important principle because it's like part of the foundation of philosophy, and a lot of people go wrong at this first step. Basically, this relationship comes from the axioms, comes from our first observation of reality. We observe that existence exists, and consciousness exists to perceive existence. Consciousness is an observer. That is the primary role of consciousness. That's what we experience consciousness as. Consciousness exists to perceive reality. Without reality, without existence, a consciousness makes no sense. Without an object, a subject makes no sense. There's no way to conceptualize that. We observe reality, and we discover that we are observing reality. That is what consciousness is. That is what our consciousness is. It is the observation of reality. It's the act of observing reality. Now, this is a point where people sometimes mess up. They sometimes try to imagine a consciousness without reality. They try to say that consciousness exists prior to reality, that there is observation without something being observed. That makes no sense. To be an observer, you need to be observing something. To understand this principle, try to imagine being conscious, thinking about things without thinking about a specific thing. Try to imagine thinking before you were born, for example, or thinking without knowledge. That's basically the primary here. Imagine thinking before you were born. You can't do it because you have no concepts in your head. You have no reality to observe. There's nothing that you've observed. There's nothing that you've integrated. There's nothing in your mind. There's no content. Without content, without existence, without reality, there's no consciousness. That doesn't make, like, that whole idea of a consciousness divorced from reality, or a consciousness that creates reality, doesn't make sense because you have no innate ideas. Where do you get this idea of what reality is for your consciousness to project? Where do you get these ideas from? Now, this is where people have to come up with some arbitrary idea like God or something else, some innate ideas, all these sort of arbitrary ideas that they can't explain. They just say, oh, they are this way. No, start with existence, and everything is explained. Existence is primary. Consciousness only exists to observe existence. Existence doesn't exist, or wait, I didn't hold up. That was a bad sentence. Consciousness does not exist before existence. Existence exists as a primary for consciousness to observe. This is true with every act of awareness. You see, every act of awareness is an awareness of something, of a thing, of a concept in your mind. Even if you close your eyes, you can still think of concepts. If you shut off all your senses, you'll still have the concepts from the past to think about. Every single thought is related to a concept that you've integrated from reality. Reality has to be the primary in all of this. And if you try to disconnect consciousness from reality, it just doesn't make any sense. You can't do that because you can't have an observer without observing something. You can't have a perceiver without perceiving something. There has to always be this something that you are perceiving. There's no way to separate the two. There's no way to separate an object from, or a subject from an object. It just doesn't work. It doesn't, because you can't imagine a consciousness without content. You can't imagine a consciousness without a thing that it's perceiving. Saying that you can't imagine it is a bad starting point, but like, try to imagine that. You can't do it. Because every single act of awareness proves the opposite. It proves that your consciousness is aware of something. It shows that. Have you ever been conscious of nothing? You can't be conscious of nothing, because then you're not conscious. Consciousness doesn't exist unless you're conscious of something. But yeah, this is a shorter video because it's a pretty simple topic. If you really just look at reality and don't be evasive. Don't try to pretend. Don't try to ask, like, oh, do we know if existence is real? Yes, you perceive it with every perception. You have to be able to trust your perceptions. That's primary. You have to be able to trust your perceptions. And you can't ask questions like, does consciousness construct reality either? If you're being honest, you need to just look at reality. Look at what your consciousness is actually doing in reality, and stop trying to imagine things and construct rationalistic ideas of what your consciousness is. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say for today. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next video. Peace.